Tonight, protests ignored, BHP shareholders approved the world's second biggest miner.
Sydney police hunt counterfeiters flooding retailers with fake 50s.
And Nicole Kidman flies home straight into her mother's arms.
With Ross Symonds and Ann Sanders, this is 7 News.
Good evening. The big Australian is now officially the biggest Australian after BHP shareholders today approved the merger with British mining company Billiton. David Koch was there for the Melbourne meeting. Well, David, it's not a unanimous decision.
That's right, Ross. Unions and some small shareholders believe that BHP has got the raw end of the deal, but management has won the day, and they did warn that without the merger, the company would have struggled. They turned up in their thousands, scared for the future of their BHP. Unions concerned jobs will go. Shareholders concerned ownership will go to foreigners.
It's against workers' interests and it's against shareholders' interests.
It's a reverse takeover. We're going to be shafted.
But all to no avail. The corporate equivalent of football and meat pies, BHP will merge with English-based Billiton to form a $57 billion resource giant to be called BHP Billiton, the second biggest in the world. BHP chiefs tried to quell the fears, claiming there is no other alternative.
It's the only option that will allow us to immediately become a global leader based in Australia.
The steel and manufacturing businesses will be sold off. The company claims it will still be headquartered here, that the big Australian is simply getting bigger. Small shareholders simply don't believe them.
I think it's a sorrowful, shameful story of selling out of the great Australian icon.
But the big end of town had the final say, mainly your superannuation funds backing the deal.
Anyone who's got a super fund should be ringing up their super fund trustee and asking them how they voted on this deal and why.
Well, certainly investors love the deal today. BHP shares cracked a record high. They jumped 35 cents. But Coles Myer lost 13 and Telstra fell 8. The ASX 200 closed 6 points weaker. Brambles, Harvey Norman and the National Bank were among today's big movers. $1 Australian buying 52.6 US cents, 36 pence and $1.23 New Zealand. Well, it doesn't matter whether you agree with the merger or not, it certainly puts BHP into a whole new league. And along with News Corporation, BHP can call itself now a truly globalised company, that's for sure. Ross.
OK, David, thanks a lot.
Qantas has been given the all-clear to take over Impulse Airlines. The Competition and Consumer Commission says the only alternative would have been to allow the discount operator to go out of business. Under the deal, Impulse will stop flying under its brand and lease its 21 aircraft to Qantas.
Impulse is a failing firm. It had no future on its own.
Ansett and Virgin Blue have criticised the decision, arguing it will reduce competition in Australian skies.
Some good news today for home buyers and car owners owed money by HIH Insurance. The state government says all legitimate claims will be honoured, and it wants Canberra to give the same assurances.
Looking to clear away some of the confusion over the HIH collapse, guarantees from the state government that they'd pick up every HIH third-party motor vehicle and home warranty claim.
If you have a valid claim, you will still have a valid claim that the New South Wales government will honour. It is as simple as that.
Mr Egan also criticised the federal rescue package for dealing only with hardship cases and not all HIH policyholders.
And the simple approach is to follow what we've done in New South Wales.
The federal government dismissed the call, saying the states are legally obliged to cover those claims anyway.
And we've been very clear about this. We are not bailing out every policyholder in HIH.
One set of victims bailed out today, though, the HIH employees. Their offices are slowly being shut down, but 450 workers are still processing claims. Not that security wanted us to talk to them.
Come on, mate. Yeah, I'm serious. Were you trespassing?
All of the HIH employees are destined to lose their jobs, but a court victory today ensured they would receive severance pay if the funds become available. It was also ordered that the severance pay deal would not apply to HIH executives.
The Commission said there's no need to include them in today's decision because they've already looked after themselves.
Chris Reason, 7 News.
Some breaking news this hour, and rescue teams have rushed to Nepean Hospital following reports of an explosion in the casualty department. There was a blast a short time ago after 2 women and a man had been admitted following a car crash. The explosion was apparently centred in one of their bags. Police say there were no injuries and little damage, but the bomb squad's been called amid fears of a second device.
Fake $50 notes are flooding businesses throughout New South Wales. Police say while the counterfeits have plenty of flaws, they're easy to miss.
Police have seized 800 of the fake notes so far. They can only guess how many more are in circulation.
We are unable to determine at this stage the quantity of the notes that are still out in the community.
Unsuspecting retailers have been stung all over Sydney and up the coast to the Queensland border.
It is a good quality. When you first look at the note, again, when you start to feel the note, you will notice it does have differences.
The counterfeiters are targeting corner stores, pubs, nightclubs and service stations, anywhere with a high number of cash transactions. But police say everyone should be on the lookout.
They will make small purchases because what they're after is actually the change. So you're looking at a packet of cigarettes, can of soft drink.
The warning signs, the fakes are slightly smaller than the genuine bill. They're made of paper, not plastic, and so will tear. The plastic window has a raised edge and the stars of the Southern Cross aren't in the right place. The fakes were first discovered 3 weeks ago. A week later, police arrested 2 men for possession of counterfeit currency, but they haven't found the sophisticated equipment used to make the notes. Morgan Ogg, 7 News.
City Rail has revealed a huge blowout in the budget for its new security camera system. Although popular with vandals, the department insists the cameras are preventing crime.
It was billed as the world's largest and most sophisticated security camera system, more than 5,000 closed-circuit cameras, promised for every railway station in the state. 2 years later, the budget's blown out from $55 million to $93 million. The system still has software glitches, and at times, some cameras don't work at all.
On average, about 1% of our closed-circuit TV cameras are not working. That is probably around 50 cameras at any given time, and that is usually the result of some form of vandalism.
City Rail says costs only skyrocketed after the program was extended to an extra 1,500 stations, and the latest figures show the added security presence is making a significant difference. This year, robberies on stations are down 21%, robberies on trains down 5.3%, and overall the number of security incidents has also dropped. But violence remains a problem. On average, 3 people a day are assaulted. The opposition has asked the New South Wales Auditor-General to complete an urgent review of the entire system, claiming taxpayers just aren't getting value for money.
I think Carl Scully, from the time he announced this program, should have been ensuring that the program would both meet commuter expectations and taxpayers' demands. And so far it hasn't. Experts from the US have been consulted to fine-tune software problems. Megan Miller, 7 News.
Parents taking children to and from school are being accused of breaking the very laws designed to protect their kids. Police are concerned at the number of drivers ignoring 40km/h speed zones.
Within minutes of setting up in a school zone this afternoon, police were issuing tickets. One driver 21 kilometres over the limit.
Yeah, Rod 61.
That's a $184 fine and the loss of 3 points. Don't bother with excuses, they've all been used before.
The big thing is oh, I didn't realise, or I'm in a hurry, or I was looking for somewhere to park.
The 40-kilometre zones are designed to protect children, but ironically, it's their mums and dads who are getting caught. Police say often when they get complaints of speeding at a school, when they turn up, the vast majority of offenders are parents or teachers from that same school.
We come down and we enforce these zones, and we find that it's parents or people that should know better.
The Parents and Citizens Federation admits speeding parents are a problem, but believes as many as 80% of all drivers ignore school zones.
Every day, a parent or a motorist who does not slow down, who does not look out, has a chance to kill a child.
Mark Symonds, 7 News.
Aussie superstar Nicole Kidman is back home for the Sydney premiere of her new movie Moulin Rouge. But first things first, a kiss and a hug from her mum.
Back home for the first time since her split with Tom Cruise.
Hi. Hi, Nicole.
Hi. Nicole Kidman greeted the media with her mum by her side.
I'm shy.
It was August since she was last home.
It is a bit chilly, isn't it? I know, we've had lovely weather and now it's back.
But just so good to be back.
Great. It's great to have her home. Absolutely fantastic.
She got straight into her private jet in LA after appearing on the Jay Leno show last night. Just days before, she strutted her stuff at premieres in Cannes and New York. Her date, director and friend Baz Luhrmann, the man behind her latest movie, Moulin Rouge. The $100 million musical shows Nicole as we've never seen her before.
I believe you were expecting me.
And now it's Sydney's turn. Nicole is set to hit the red carpet here at Fox Studios on Monday, ahead of flying out to Melbourne, doing it all again there on Wednesday. But for this weekend at least, some rest.
I think she had a tear in her eye and she was just absolutely thrilled to be on Sydney Terra Firma again.
Sister Antonia and her children spent the day with Nicole. The superstar's own kids are back in LA.
Yeah, but they're coming out again with me when I come back.
No word yet if it will be for good.
No. Bye.
Thanks, folks.
Monique Wright, 7 News.
And next in 7 News, how a plane crash survivor helped his rescuers. Also, why protesters pelted the former president.
And the latest advance in the battle over computer games. The federal government has threatened to set up a royal commission to investigate alleged corruption in the construction industry. Union leaders are outraged, branding it a witch hunt with political motives.
The building industry was widely praised for its efforts delivering the Sydney Olympics. Now the federal government says it has an explosive new report exposing the industry's dark side.
Claims of collusion, coercion, intimidation and violence inside the industry.
The report was compiled in just 2 weeks by employment advocate Jonathan Hamburger. It finds compulsory unionism, while illegal, is widespread. Among the allegations of criminal behaviour, union officials accepting bribes and secret commissions, company blacklists and bogus health and safety claims to shut down building sites. Mr Abbott had signalled a powerful inquiry.
I'm certainly not ruling out a Royal Commission.
Union leaders say the minister's been forced to retreat.
Tony Abbott has had to back down and back away from the expectation that had been created by himself.
Building unions say allegations of criminal activity within the union and the building sector are best left to police to investigate, rather than what they describe as a politically inspired inquiry.
Well, I see it as a ploy by the Commonwealth Government to divert attention from the collapse of HIH.
The federal government says it will outline its response within 3 weeks.
Like many of these inquiries, what will probably end up happening is that most of the corruption and illegality in the industry will come out at the employer level.
Chris Marr, 7 News.
A Queensland doctor survived a plane crash, then given medical advice. He was aboard a twin-engine Cessna which crashed 300 metres short of Maroochydor's main runway. After phoning emergency crews, the doctor filled them in on his injuries and the pilots and recommended how they should be treated.
Stay there for a second. I had a previous spinal injury, in case you didn't know.
Both men were taken to hospital, the ambulance crews taking extra care.
Security's been tightened around British politicians after yesterday's sensational campaign punch-up. Deputy Prime Minister John Prescott says he regrets the incident, but insists he lashed out in self-defence.
Punching his way to the centre of national attention, the Deputy Prime Minister again forced to defend himself and explain his violent response.
Why should we be subjected to that kind of protest? I think that's wrong.
Worried that a street brawl could cost votes, Prime Minister Tony Blair making light of his deputy's heavy left jab.
And he has got very, very great strengths. Not least in his left arm.
Standing by his man, the Prime Minister says he's lucky to have such a loyal, true and decent deputy. John Prescott says his punch was a reflex defence to what he thought was a blow and blood on his head. Charged with assault, the egg-throwing farm worker Colin Evans has appeared briefly outside his home, but is saying nothing. Police confirming they're still to interview the Deputy Prime Minister.
Things happen to all of us every day where people try to provoke us. I think it's very regrettable.
But with Labor still way ahead in the polls, it appears Prescott's punch hasn't hit voter support. Instead, Tony Blair's deputy has succeeded where his own boss and other politicians have failed, sparking considerable public interest in the British election campaign. In London, Tim Verstegen, 7 News.
Former US President Bill Clinton has also been targeted by protesters. On a walkabout in Warsaw, anti-globalisation demonstrators pelted him with eggs.
Getting better every time I come.
Secret Service agents scrambled to protect Mr Clinton from further harm. A 19-year-old protester was arrested by police. Mr Clinton wasn't hurt.
Nintendo has declared war on its video game rivals. Its new GameCube was launched at the world's biggest electronics fair in Los Angeles. The system features the latest graphics with an emphasis on family-friendly games.
Now there's a man in Sydney tonight trying to become the greatest crawler ever. Suresh Yochum has been scuttling around in circles since 9:30 a.m, hoping to break the world record of crawling 50.6 kilometres in 24 hours.
I think he's going to get cramps in his legs.
But Suresh is used to pain. The Penrith Superman holds a dozen Guinness World Records, including balancing on one foot, dribbling a basketball non-stop, and running 126 kilometres holding a brick.
He's doing it too.
Sport now with Kylie and some travelling hiccups for Queensland.
And lost luggage setting back the Reds' final training run. Ends with the world's oldest man to score an ace. Round 13 of the NRL features a clash of the heavyweights at Parramatta Stadium tonight. It's the Eels versus the Roosters, with special significance for one player who's been in both camps.
It's taken time, but former Rooster David Solomona now feels at home among his Eels teammates, and he's ready to face the club he didn't want to leave.
I was at the Roosters, I always look forward to playing the Warriors, and now that I've left the Roosters, you know, it's a team that I really want to play against.
At the Roosters, his style was compared to Arthur Beetson's, and former coach Graham Murray regrets losing him.
He's a talented footballer, David, and, you know, we probably mix things up a little bit there.
But Solomona has found a new mentor in Brian Smith, who's putting his own stamp on the big Samoan.
In recent weeks, he started to fit with the Parramatta style. I think he's feeling more comfortable.
Now that you're starting to get combinations and playing with the players, you know, it's starting to gel together, so yeah, I'm pretty happy with my form so far.
Tomorrow, Melbourne meets Canberra, the Sharks host West Tigers, and Newcastle travels to Penrith. Sunday, it's the Bulldogs and the Dragons, Brisbane home to the Northern Eagles, and the Cowboys against the Warriors. And under pressure from all sides, NRL boss David Moffat has cancelled a mid-season riding holiday to watch the Tour de France. Jeff Bullock, 7 News.
Queensland has suffered a setback ahead of tomorrow night's Super 12 semi-final against the Brumbies in Canberra. The Reds were unable to complete a full training session after their luggage went missing on the flight from Brisbane.
A frustrating day for the Reds, a game of cricket and a restricted session, the best they could do. Their flight from Brisbane to Canberra was diverted to Sydney due to fog in the nation's capital. When they were finally given clearance, some of the team's luggage was missing.
Yeah, everyone seems to be against us down here, but no, it's something we have to put up with.
Adding to the confusion, the injury-prone Ben Choon has made a late dash to Canberra and hasn't given up hope of playing. The Brumbies' preparation has been smoother, but hooker Jeremy Paul is still in doubt with a strained hamstring.
I'm lucky in my position. I don't really need a hamstring. It's more the backs that use their hamstrings, and that's why I'm still a bit confused why I've got the injury.
Steve Larkham has overcome his troublesome hamstring injury and returns for the semi-final, pushing Rod Kafer back to inside centre. Kafer, known as the tugboat, has pulled no punches this week, criticising former Brumbies and now Reds defensive coach John Muggleton.
I don't think John Muggleton's smart enough to recognise any weaknesses in our side, so I don't think it'll help him at all.
The winner will take on the Sharks or the Cats in next week's decider. Paul Gregg, 7 News.
Leighton Hewitt is charged into the quarterfinals of the Masters tournament in Hamburg, but he had to beat Australian Andrew Illey in straight sets. Hewitt swept through the first set and raced to a 5-2 lead in the second before losing concentration and blowing 4 match points. Ely forced it to a tie-break, but Hewitt held on. Hewitt's victory clinched his first quarter-final berth on clay this season. After 4 long years, Ian Baker Finch is back. In his first appearance on the PGA Tour since 1997, the Australian shot a 4/74 at the Colonial Tournament. That's a whole lot better than the last competition round, a 92.
I've got no visions of coming back out and doing it 30 weeks a year again. I'll wait until I'm an old guy, and maybe the senior tour age will come down and I'll get out even sooner.
His 74 today was 2 strokes better than playing partner Greg Norman. Phil Mickelson and Jim Furyk are the leaders with 65. But they'll go a long way to better the record of Harold Stilson. He's 101 and has just become the oldest man to score a hole-in-one.
A hole-in-one at my age, worldwide. Woo.
He's played golf for 80 years and it was his 6th ace. Finally, Max Presnell's weekend selection comes from Brisbane again this week. Maxie likes Evander in the 2-year-old event. That's race 4, number 9, Evander. And just quickly, bad news for the Swannies, Darren Creswell is out.
Oh, it's a pity.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Kylie.
Gee, it was cold today, wasn't it? But the weekend should be warmer.
And Adam joins us next with all the weather details.